Hey everyone. So today I have two very special guests, Annabelle and Tony. Annabelle and I are have been carnivore for quite some time now, and Tony is also carnivore after being vegan at one point. And we're going to get into a lot of interesting topics with Tony. He's the author of quite a few books, has been understanding the world for a very long time, much longer than I have, and he has a lot of insight to share as far as escaping the matrix, really understanding who controls this world and how to break free from that control. So I appreciate you both coming on to have this discussion, and it should be fun. It should be helpful to a lot of people who are still stuck inside that bubble and need to get out.
Thanks for having me on.
Sure.
Look forward to it.
So do you want to share a little bit about your journey to veganism and how you escaped it and what you're doing now?
Uh, well, I wouldn't have escaped veganism if I hadn't have got ill because I was so headstrong with it, like so many vegans are. The people that you review on your channel, and that was me a few years ago. Kind of embarrassed to say, but um, basically what happened with me is that I started to have this awakening back in around 2015 or so. And I was starting to learn that most things that we were told were a lie. Um, and at the same time, I had some health issues anyway. I was on like the traditional Western diet, so I was eating a lot of carbs and vegetable oils. I didn't know that that was the cause of it at the time. But it got me at a really vulnerable time because I was at this point where I was questioning everything. I was realizing how corrupt everything is and how we'd been lied to over so many things. And then naturally, I thought, well, we've probably been lied to about what we should be eating as well. And there was this whole big movement on all the documentaries online. And I was convinced that this was also part of the lies that we shouldn't be eating meat and we shouldn't be eating now what is our species specific diet. I know that now. Um, so what happened with me is initially I went vegetarian and I was having a lot of stomach problems because of the Western diet. So when I went on vegetarian, I did start to feel some benefits. And that really added to the conclusion that I was coming to that perhaps we're supposed to be eating plants because I was feeling better in my body. And you hear this so much, don't you, in the
Yeah.
ex-vegan community. I felt better straight away. I didn't realize at the time it was just like the initial detox of coming off the Western diet. So I was feeling good and I was seeing that there were all these lies. And so I put two and two together equaled five and thought, well, this is another lie. We should be eating plants. And then, of course, I got smacked round the face with Earthlings, I think it was. And you've got to be some kind of psychopath if you watch that and you don't feel anything, because even now I don't recommend factory farming. And of course, part of being human, our weakness and our strength is our empathy. And so I'd already seen these physical health benefits, and then on top of it, I then stumbled into those documentaries,
Mm.
and then that was it really. I was convinced, and I stayed vegetarian for a while, and then, as you do, you look to transition to veganism, and uh, and that was it. I was vegetarian for about a year, and then I went full vegan, um, and that was it. I was all for the animals, only pigs, chickens, and cows, of course. The others can just get screwed. Um, but yeah, that was me. I just went deep into the cult, and I was shouting it from the rooftop. Something that I really regret now because I do have a bit of a following, and I think at the time I did convince some people to go vegan. Hopefully, I'm helping to undo that now. Um, but I was really, really headstrong. I was what you would probably class as one of the annoying ones. And yeah, I look back now and I cringe so badly. Um, and I consider myself a pretty good judge of BS, but I really fell for that one big time. I blame my empathy, but yeah, I went deep into it, and I was in it for a good 2.5 years, and then I started noticing that just some weird off things, like Bill Gates and people like that started advertising fake meat, and there was a big push from some really questionable characters out there. And I was starting to think, I'm not so sure about this. So I stopped being so vocal about it. I stopped trying to encourage people to go vegan, and then I was here in Mexico, and I was working out every day. I'm exercising every day, and I thought I was on this really healthy diet, eating rabbit food every day. But I was feeling like really bad. I was feeling really bad. I was having digestive problems. My brain fog was incredibly bad, to the point whereby, because I've also got a YouTube channel, I was kind of nervous before getting on to make a video, because I'm like, God, is my memory going to hold out? Am I going to remember the right words? And if you go back on some of my older stuff, I can see myself stumbling through it sometimes. So my memory was getting bad. My cognitive functioning was slow. And just generally, I was thinking, this is not right. I'm supposed to be on this all-conquering, all-healthy diet, and I'm not feeling good. And it all came to a crescendo one day when, obviously here in Mexico, they speak Spanish, and I have Spanish lessons. And one day my teacher came over, and we were having this lesson, and she was asking me what English words were, let alone Spanish words. And I couldn't even remember. I remember the word hammock. She was like, what's the word where you, and I couldn't even remember the word hammock. And it was at that moment, right at that specific moment, when I'm like, I'm either getting Alzheimer's or dementia, or something is really, I'm doing something seriously wrong. And it was funny because my girlfriend at the time, she also was not feeling good. She was also vegan. So we were both not feeling great. And it was at that point, I think I stumbled across, was it Sverige? Maybe Sverige, I think. And that was it. I mean, that was the start of all his ex-vegan videos. And then I started to get into everyone else, the carnivore keto community, and just really realized that I'd made a really big mistake. And the interesting thing is when I first had my first piece of meat, it was tuna. When I actually ate my first piece, my brain, the front part of my brain started to tingle. It was like my brain was talking to me. It was like, give me more, give me more. It was really weird, really bizarre. And then, of course, like the penny dropped where I realized I'd been had for these years. And then I had a massive sense of responsibility and guilt, really, to kind of come clean, because it would have been easy for me to sort of be here in Mexico. People still think I'm vegan. And, I'm sitting there in a restaurant somewhere tucking into steak. I didn't want to be one of those people. So I came out of the closet, as it were, and yeah, just like probably you guys have had, got dogs abuse, because a lot of people were vegans on my page, and yeah, just got absolute pelters for months and months on end. And it was a challenging time, because I'd had to go back and on everything that I'd been saying, and swallow the pill, and take my shot, basically, from these people. And so that was it. And ever since then, I've been on mainly carnivore keto, and like everyone else, my health improved, my memories. It's taken me a bit of time to get my brain working again. I've had to do a few different things to get it back to, actually, it's better than what it was, I would say, in my late 20s now. But yeah, so that's really my journey. I messed up, and then I came clean, basically.
Mm. Yeah, and I've heard a few people with a similar story, in that they stop going vegan because someone that they don't like is endorsing it, like Bill Gates. I've actually heard that a few times, and it makes sense, because if you know what Bill Gates has been doing and proposing, then you probably don't want to do anything that's in alignment with his beliefs. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, they there was a few questionable characters at the time, and yeah, I was just like, yeah, shut up, Tony, because maybe you don't know the full extent of what's playing out with this diet. And also, like I say, I wasn't feeling particularly great. But it's funny when you come out of the cult, which it is. It's funny how all the vegans say they feel great, don't they? I mean, I've never heard anyone that's still stuck in that cult say that they're not feeling so good. You have to maintain that you feel great for the cult, right? And that
Mm.
was me. I even though I wasn't feeling great, I still was saying that I felt great, even though I wasn't feeling that great. Um, so yeah, it was a weird time.
Mm.
Why do you think it is that when people, I guess, wake up to certain things, that they straight away go to veganism as the next step?
Well, the thing is, and I talk about this on my channel, which is mainly about exposing the New Age movement, is that there's this whole idea of ascending, right, which is BS. And when you, I guess, there's like spiritual ego attached to it as well. Like when you have that kind of spiritual awakening, if you fall heavy into the New Age, this wasn't my main reasoning for me. I speak to a lot of other vegans and ex-vegans that kind of had this spiritual awakening, and part of that is, you know, if you eat animal meat, your vibration's going to be super low, and you're eating all the death and the fear energy of the animal, so you're not going to be able to ascend to 5D over the rainbow bridge into the new earth, right? So it's all tied in with New Age. And of course, what it does, especially with the males, is it weakens them, and it feminizes them. And I speak about this in that whole kind of like pseudo spiritual movement. If you're involved in it heavily, you'll notice that a lot of the men, they're quite feminine, they're quite weak, and I think that also ties in with the whole veganism, because they're all on soy and they're all love and light angels and all this stuff. And of course, they want to weaken the masculine in the world, because if you weaken the masculine in the world, then it's an easy takeover for them. So they've really done a job there, and veganism very much ties in with the New Age spiritual movement. And yeah, I guess what people do is that their idea is, and I went there one time where I went raw. I went raw for about a week. I was going to fly off, float away. I was so ungrounded. I'm like, I've got to get off this stuff. But I did. It's like this natural progression of you go vegetarian, then you go vegan, then you go fruitarian, then you go breatharian, and then you end up eating nothing. And it's crazy when you think about it. I mean, I look back now and I don't know how I fell for it. I mean, it's just so dumb. I mean, how did we get here? We got here, but we didn't get here by eating kale and pumpkin smoothies. We got here eating meat. And you know, you don't see any other species trying to change their diet. You don't see lions. Oh, I'm going to start eating kale or broccoli now. It's ridiculous. And but I don't know. I always say to people, they got me on my empathy. So,
Yeah.
and because I'd seen that those initial health benefits, and it's a really important point to point out to people, is that yeah, you will, if you're coming off junk food Western diet, you're gonna feel better initially when you go plant-based, for sure, 100%. But it's when people try and do it for a long period of time. And I think with me is because you talk to vegans that they've been vegans like 30, 40 years, but it really all depends on how much you exercise and other things like that, how quickly you move into your reserves. And for me, I was like working out 2 or 3 times a day. So my reserves went dipped really quick. And that's when I hit end stage, a lot sooner than perhaps maybe other people that are less active. So that's the other deception where it hooks people in, because people, well, hang on, my friend's vegan for 20 years. Well, if your friend doesn't do anything, just sit around all day, they're going to last longer. So there's so many deceptions and layers to it where people can get caught up in it. And that's why it's so incredibly dangerous, and why, you know, the work that you're doing, you two, is so incredibly important. Because what we're seeing right now is the vegan bubble's kind of bursting, because so many people are like hitting that end stage now. It was popular 10 years ago, and so people have been able to maintain it for a time. And now more and more people are like dropping off the edge, and coming to channels like you. And so hopefully we can put an end to it all, full stop.
Yeah, I mean, every day it's almost like a new vegan is reacting to this person is no longer vegan and they're all sad about it. And eventually it's going to be them, because, of course, this is not something that can continue. You mentioned that men today are becoming emasculated or effeminized from veganism, and that this may actually be by design. Why would it be that the government or whoever is the force and control would want a population of emasculated men?
Well, when you look at male nature, males was predominantly supposed to be the protectors of society. We're supposed to be the protectors of the women and the children and the vulnerable, and the women are supposed to be the nurturers. They're the more creative aspect of humanity. They birth new lives, right? So it's not only just through veganism, but through TV indoctrination, just general stuff that's being put out there on a daily basis. It's moved men in general out of their masculine. This is why relationships are so problematic at the moment, because a lot of females are complaining that men are not in their masculine, so they're having to go into their masculine, and they're not in their feminine where they want to be. So now we're seeing females that are more masculine, and you're getting males that are more feminine. And what they've done is they've inverted, like they invert everything, our natural energy, our natural essence of who we are. And to knock out the masculine, like I said before, it's so important for them, because if you knock out the protective layer of society, the male, then it becomes a doddle to implement all the things that they want to implement. And they give males an outlet for their kind of outrage through sport and football and you know, all this kind of stuff. But it's a huge problem. They've done a job on both sexes, at least not with the females with feminism. I mean, God, that could you could fill up another show just talking about that. How they've told women that they don't need men, and you know, strong and independent and all this, like just get a career and don't worry about having children and all this stuff. And I mean, there's natural roles, just like there is with what we eat, where we have a species-specific diet. The world functions way more better when we're in our natural essence, both male and female. You know, the male is the breadwinner, the protector, the action taker, and the female is, like I say, the nurturer, the creative one. And what they've done through feminism is they've demonized a woman having a traditional role. And if you point that out as a man, you're a misogynist. So if I'm here saying, well, you know, maybe it's the role of the woman to look after the children, oh, you're a misogynist, all the feminists will say you're they've ring fenced what you can and can't talk about. And it's really difficult to voice those opinions now without being given that label of a misogynist.
I'm actually glad that you bring this up, only because I've heard certain spiritual groups, and I'm not quite sure. So these are people who are also trying to get away from the New Age movement, but they believe that the idea of Adam and Eve essentially is fake, and that you becoming one, so man and woman becoming one, is you becoming one with, I guess, your divine self or your soul that is out of this world. But at the same time, I feel like I'm in a place in my life where, for some reason now more than ever, I really want to have a husband and settle down and be in a relationship and have kids and have a family. And sometimes I think, am I wrong for feeling this way? Is it something that's been programmed into me? And should I be seeking this whole connection with my soul? And is, you know, the idea of getting married and having kids and finding the one, is it all fake? Or, but it does feel like it's a gut instinct. Like, I want to have a family and I want to have kids. So what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I think you're just tuning into your natural desire as a woman. There's studies out now. It's a really sensitive subject, but it's good that we've gone there. There's studies out now that say that women over 30 are way more unhappier than they've ever been. They're on more antidepressants, they're on mental health drugs, all kinds of stuff, because what they've told women is, you're in your 20s, in your most fertile years, when it's the time you're supposed to, you know, lock someone down. I don't like that term, but you know, meet someone, let's say, and start a family. Don't do all that. You girl, you can have a career. You can be a boss girl, and you can. The world's your oyster. You can just sleep around, have fun. You know, it's hot girl summer. And then so women have taken that in, and they're like partying it up through their 20s and getting the career and everything like that. And then, of course, as time goes on, it's like, hang on a minute, I haven't got what I should really have. I should really have this. And they're realizing that feminism is a scam. And it's all to do with depopulation. And I mean, they don't want people having children anyway. We know that they want less of us on the planet, and there's many ways that they're doing that. And feminism is just a part of that. And it's a really difficult topic to approach, and it's really triggering for a lot of people, particularly women. But yeah, someone's got to say it, and it needs to be spoke about more and more. And women really have got to wake up to the fact that they've been sold a really big lie. And they've got to really alert the next generation of women to this lie, because the lie's not going to stop. And so, yeah, the whole inversion of males and females, and now, you know, they're trying to push, like, I mean, you can choose from any of like 80 different sexualities, right? You could be pansexual, you can be asexual, you can be like,
Yeah.
you can wake up in the morning and you can be a penguin, right? And that's what you identify as, right?
Yeah.
But if you identify as a man or a female, no, that's wrong. No. So and they're teaching kids this at school, and they've got, I mean, they've got drag queens coming in at school teaching kids. I mean, it's so messed up. And so they're really trying to, I don't, it's all messed up. And we need to, I think, really go back to what we were doing before, like veganism. We need to go back to our species specific diet that served us well up until this point. We need to do the same with who we are as men and women, and go back to what we were doing before, because it worked perfectly. It worked perfectly for God knows thousands of years. You know, right. that dynamic. When you think about men going out to hunt to get the food, the women weren't going out to hunt and get the food. They were there looking after the children. But now the women are supposed to go out and hunt for the food, and the men. And then, yeah, it's crazy what's going on out there.
It sounds to me like we're all on the same page when it comes to embracing nature and realizing that going away from nature, whether it be with food or just social implementations, has been really harmful for us. So maybe we can talk about that, or you can talk about that a little bit more. And how, in what ways have we strayed away from nature that's harming us? And why are they trying to take us so far away from our natural roots? And if it's depopulation, well, like, why?
Well, I mean, just look at how we're conducting this interview. I mean, I myself am stuck in a box made of bricks with construction going on next door. And you know, there's Wi-Fi everywhere. There's like our source of entertainment. I don't watch my TV on the wall, but there's a TV on the wall. Like that's not that's not natural at all. We're supposed to be out connected. Even things like, I was thinking about this the other day, like when our the feet of our souls connect with the earth, there's like an energetic exchange that happens. And I was like, we're all out here walking on concrete with trainers, like and shoes, like even little things like that. It's all to disconnect us, because we know, like if you have any stress or problems, you go for a walk in the woods or you go down the beach, you automatically feel a lot better. And that's because there's that feedback loop between ourselves and the natural environment. So now they want everyone cooped up in their apartments, watching Netflix, on their phones. I mean, literally, it's just the phone thing. I mean, you see it at restaurants, don't you? Like you see couples out and they're there both staring on the phone. It's really sad. It's like there's no exchange, there's no deep conversations anymore. Like
Even kids now, they have their iPads and they're playing games at the dinner table at restaurants. It's kind of appalling.
Yeah, I mean, what they're doing is they're trying. It's tiptoe because they want to get technology in our body, and it goes. I mean, this is a really deep part of it, but might be best if I explain the others. Well, I can explain this bit first. We might have to go here early in terms of the matrix about what's going on with the souls. Can we go there?
Sure.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, so this ties into the technology side of things, but I need to explain the other side of things first. So basically what this matrix is it's a soul recycling mill. So what's happening is we are dying, and what happens is we get shown the white light tunnel, and that white light tunnel also emits what I call like a love bomb frequency. So it's very alluring. And a lot of the stuff in the New Age movement uses this kind of fake white light energy. It's a false white light energy grid. And it feels a little bit like if you've ever taken ecstasy or anything like that, where you've got that initial high, and there's the inevitable crash like the day after or whatever. So what's happening is we're dying, we're going to the false white light. There's loads of propaganda now about the light. There's a Disney film called Soul. I don't know if you've heard of it, where it's all about the false white. It's about the white light tunnel. Look it up. There's like loads of NDE experiences on Netflix now. So we die, the false white light comes, and then you'll be met at the false light with anyone that you resonated with in your physical life. So if you're into Jesus, then Jesus will be there. If you're into Buddha, Buddha will be there. If you were particularly, and this is the really upsetting part for people, but it's important to go there so people can make their own choices. If you have like a deceased loved one that you were extremely close to, that will be used at the point of death to help lure you in. It's a soul lure system, luring your soul into the system. So at that point, you're going to go, oh, there's my dead granny. Hi, granny. And she goes, come here. And then what happens is they show you a life review, and there's loads of NDEs. There's a YouTube channel called Forever Conscious Research Channel. I recommend people go and check that out, where he reviews these NDEs. They're all the same. You get taken for a life review, and then you're guilt tripped. So they might say to you, right, you're a good person, but in 2012 you hurt this person, and in 2018 you really hurt this person. So if you want to resolve your karma, or you know, otherwise you might have to go to hell, then you need to come back down to earth to resolve your karma and have another lifetime. And so because most humans don't research anything in their physical life, they'll just go with it, and then they're coming back down and they wipe the memory. So you forget the lives that you've had. So everything you've learned in this lifetime, this is why it's so important. I know it sounds far out, but it either resonates or it doesn't. But so it's really important that in this lifetime that you work out what you're going to do, because they will everything that you've learned, wipe the memory, you come back down with it. You don't know what you've done in this lifetime, you don't know what you've learned, and you're back down to be used as batteries in a slave system. And it goes deeper than that with entity attachments, where they're feeding on our energy and everything like that. So there's this loop that's been going around and around and around, and the symbology around this is really interesting at the moment. If you look at the FIFA World Cup, the football, or you might call it soccer, Joey, where you are, there's this like 8. Now that is known as the infinity sign, and people think that that's a good sign. It's actually symbolic of the soul recycling, the soul coming round and round again. And you see this symbol a lot. So that's how they are trapping souls here. So people, the obvious question is after that, well, what are you going to do? Where do you go when you die? So I would only tell you what I'm going to do. It's all about intention. My intention is just going to be to leave. I'm not going to get involved with any beings that I see. I'm not going to go to any white light, any light at all. And intention will take your consciousness where you need to go. But with the technology, this is the point that I was going to touch on with what you brought up, is because that system is starting to break down and more people are becoming aware of it, they need to find a new way of trapping people's souls. Have you guys ever watched Black Mirror?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Really recommend you watch Black Mirror, Joey, because it tells you what they're going to do. So basically what they're going to do in the next few years, we're going to hear all these astounding things happening in the world, the fields of medicine, and they're going to be like curing people from cancers and things like that, and they're going to be doing it with technology. So that's going to build trust and faith in technology. Just this morning, I don't know if you guys saw, but Elon Musk has got his link ready to go into humans, the implant. So what they're going to do is they're going to just say you get a diagnosis of a terminal illness. So they might say to you, okay, really sorry, but you've only got 6 months to live. And you'll be like, oh, right. Oh, but what we can do is we can make sure you live forever. And you'll be like, because all the NPCs will go for it. Oh, how do you do that then? What they're going to do is something called consciousness transference. So what they'll say is that we can upload your consciousness to this USB or this chip, and we can put it in the cloud or the this quantum computer. So you'll be able to download yourself onto a laptop or into a toy or a clone, because cloning is going now. So it will be you, but it won't you. So it will be your consciousness, but it won't be the true self. And so that's basically how they're going to do it moving forward. They're going to promise everlasting life and using consciousness transference, where we all end up in a quantum computer. So this is why we need to wake up to it and wake up to what we're basically involved in a sci-fi movie. And part of that is getting people's trust and faith in technology. So they've started with the phones. So we got used to holding the phones. Then they're going to move on to microchips and Elon Musk thing. I mean, you see it with the kids. You said, Joey, about kids playing games. They've got the stuff in the ears and all, like, it's already on them. We've already got all this technology on them. The next thing is to get it in the body. And with the younger generations, they're so indoctrinated with technology that you kind of wonder if that it's going to be easy at that point for them to pull this off, because at the moment we love technology more than we love nature. going back to your point about how we're so disconnected from it. So I know that went very deep into things, but I had to give it context with the false white light to explain the technological side of things.
Okay, I actually do have a maybe one question or a few questions to follow up with that. So I've heard of this before and it does really resonate with me. What is the goal in this life? So let's say we get all of the knowledge, we do everything perfectly, we're grounded, we're out in nature, we have our own animals in our land, we're not close to technology. What then? Because the world is still going to be a messed up place. So what do we do to protect ourselves and to get out of here?
So my personal opinion is this lifetime really should be used to get out of this matrix, unless you really want to stay in here. I mean, look at what goes on. Like, we're the only species that has to pay for a living. I mean, like, you don't see other animals paying for food, for water, for, like, there's war, there's constant wars, people, like, there's famine. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, you can find good things in this world, you can have nice experiences, but the general tone of it, it's downright evil. And I, for one, I don't want to stay here. I don't want to come back another lifetime. And other people might want to, and that will be your free will choice at the end. But we go way beyond the human experience. You know, we're everything that's ever been. We're consciousness. And I want to go back to feeling like that, rather than, you know, having my consciousness trapped in this human meat suit, where it experiences pain and suffering and has to watch people walking around in a frigging mask, you know, covering their only orifice that they breathe life force energy in. It's clown world. So I would say that our main goal is to, okay, we've woken up to what it is. Now, let's get out of here. Certainly that's the overarching goal for most people that wake up. And then, of course, on the way out, we can expose as much as we can and help other people to get out and live a better quality life while we're here, which includes eating a better diet and all the other things that go with that. I would say many of us have been trapped here for thousands of lifetimes, and had the memory wipe. And so it's really imperative that, I think, this lifetime really should be spent on working out how we're going to get out of here. And we can get out of here. But going on to the other point is that, yeah, of course, if you can make this lifetime a better experience while you're here, things are not just going to change. They're not going to stop being like unnecessary wars and killings and all the stuff and all the insanity that goes on. But you can find ways in which to traverse it in a better way and have a better lifetime and still have good experiences. So I don't want to be like the messenger of doom. You know, you can still experience love and happiness and enjoy music and art and all these other things that make this experience so interesting. But for me, the overarching thing over all of that is, okay, I can have fun here and play around with this matrix, and try and avoid some of it, but at the end, I want to get out of here, and I that's certainly where I'm at, and it's up to everyone else. Maybe you might love it here and want to come back. I don't know, but
no, I mean, I definitely don't want to come back, but just, sorry, Joey, you probably have a question, but I have a really quick one about, have you heard of people saying that there are certain people here or certain souls who are technically these indigos, or people that are here for a specific mission to wake people up? And what do you think of that? And then there's another part to this, which is that some people on this earth genuinely are already these bio robots, and so no matter what you say to them, they will not wake up. They're essentially the matrix fillers.
Yeah, you're spot on with that. I would say 70% of people are NPCs, and they're just filling. We're in a computer game. We're basically in a computer game. Yeah, and so like a computer game, you have NPCs, you have the filling characters, And this is why you'll say to them, like, do you know what the world leaders are doing with, and they'll be like, well, I don't care, where's the football? Or you know what I mean? It's like the lights are on but no one's home. They're NPCs.
Yeah.
So you have the source players, people like ourselves, where we have a soul, right? And it's that soul energy that if you go, because it goes way deeper than just the 1% elites. We're talking those people are hosted by entities, and it's those entities that are feeding on our energy, our soul energy. And so yeah. What was the first part of your question?
Oh, the indigos. Because what I'm
All
thinking,
right.
what I'm wondering is exactly is how is it possible that my dad is one of these people, right? You could say something to him that's the truth, and he'll look at you almost as if, and I can see his something in his brain going, program not recognized, program not recognized, like as if he's a robot. But my mom, on the other hand, is the opposite. Like you tell her something that's the truth, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I resonate." Like she's not
Yeah.
as awake as we are in terms of this, but she knows right from wrong. Like she will not get brainwashed.
Yeah. I mean, I I've experienced being around people close that I have the same reaction, and it could be a high possibility that we're dealing with NPCs even within our close vicinities, let's say, which is kind of weird when you think about it. But yeah, I mean the whole indigo thing, it's all new age stuff. It's that is a rhetoric that they've put out there to make those of us that have been enslaved in this soul trap think that we chose to come here and that we're special. I don't think any of us would really choose to, maybe as a one-off, like maybe if we're out there and we're talking, like, I don't know, we hear about this gangster planet, right, which is planet Earth. Oh, have you heard about gangster planet Earth? It's like there's like killings every day, murders, it's like robbing, it's like the government control everything. It's like oh yeah, do you know what? I might experience that for one, just as a gimme, a one-off, a once in a lifetime, or once in how many lifetimes? Yeah, I'll do that, right? Just to have that experience of duality and feel the suffering and pain. But I think we've been round and round and round and round and round over and over again. So it's gone beyond just the one-off experience that we may have choose to experience. So I think that the whole indigo light worker, star seed, all that is just them trying to put a spin on it and get people to accept their condition of slavery by thinking that they somehow chose to come here, and that kind of thing. I mean, for sure that there's people that can make a difference, but I don't think it's not our job to wake everyone up, right? Like most of the people, like you said, they're NPCs anyway. I think it's a case of putting the information out there and the right eyes will see it, and then it's down to them and what they choose to do. And even with the stuff with what I'm talking about with the false light thing, that's really triggering for a lot of people, because people want to believe that Granny's going to be there at the end, or Jesus, and that's their free will to believe that. For me, I think we have to let go of every attachment that we have on this planet, religious, family members, not while they're here physically, but I think at that point, because from what I understand from those NDE experiences, and I really recommend people research them, whatever your flavor is, they'll give you that. If it's strawberry, they'll give you strawberry. If it's chocolate, they'll give you chocolate. If it's, if you're into angels, it'll be angels. Buddha will be there. So I think the freer we can make ourselves with these belief systems, these rigid belief systems and attachments, when we get to that point, it's just right. Okay, I know what this is now. I'm out of here, and I don't think at that point it will be difficult to get out. And that's the positive thing. I think for many of us now, it's the last time. We've got to be aware of the love bombing at death, the frequency that that false white light energy grid that I talk about, which is the same thing as if you have Reiki or something like that. It feels good, and then it's like, oh, hang on a minute, next day I feel like shit again, or maybe I need to balance my another chakra or something, because it's a false white light energy grid. It's something that they use, this kind of ecstasy. And I think, yeah, ecstasy would tap into that false light. It's not real. It's like a spiritual high that feels good in the moment. And that's the other thing that from what I understand, that people are getting hooked in on. They don't want to leave that when they die. And you'll often see here in these NDEs, none of them want to come back, and they'll say, but it's not your time to come back, right? Who are they to tell us if it's not our time? Who are these? Like, I'm a sovereign being. I make that decision. If I want to come back, I'll come back. If I don't want to come back, I'm not coming back. And that's how we've got to be. Doesn't matter how they've dressed themselves up in that dimension and how impressive they look, because from what I hear, they do look impressive. And the backgrounds as well. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever experimented with certain psychedelics and things like that, but some of the things that they describe, I've kind of seen similar things in the astral, big like Greek columns, theaters, and things like that. So they pull out all the stops. It's a show, but once you're awake to it, it loses its power. And this is one of my main messages that I'm trying to get across to people is, you don't have to believe me, but just be aware that when Jesus pops up at the end, make sure you definitely want to listen to what he's got to say. So, you know, and intention's so incredibly strong. If we knew how strong it was, you know, I've been doing energy healing for 7-8 years now, removing entities and implants and things like that. And in that dimension, it's instant. And you just, you know, wherever you want to go, you can go. In this dimension, it's slower because it's physical, it's 3D. So we have to put in the intention. If we want something, we set the intention, and then we have to put in the physical action for it to manifest. That's why it's called law of attraction. Action is in the word attraction. The New Age will just tell you, like books like The Secret, you just think and feel, and then a Ferrari will be on your driveway. Well, no, it doesn't work like that. You've got to put, if I want to build a house, or if I want a new house, I've either got to build it myself, or I've got to pay someone to build it for me, and then it manifests. It doesn't just appear because I think and feel. So there's so many deceptions in the New Age. I think, yeah, so yeah, that's what I'm trying to say to people. You're a sovereign being. You're way more powerful than you've ever been led to believe. And when your time is up, you choose where you go. And just be careful of getting hooked back in again, because if you get hooked back in again, your memory gets wiped, and you could have learned a whole load of stuff in this lifetime. I've got a friend on Facebook. She was so awake to everything, and for some reason she's just all of a sudden turned to religion. She's gone to religion, and I'm like, I can't believe it. You're like, you're right. You were right there, and now you've just turned into like, I mean, religions are man-made. They're made to, why? Like now, I said, what are you going to do when you see Jesus? She's like, well, he's here to save me, and I'm like, seriously. So yeah, you can do what you can do, and then people have the free will to choose what they want to do at the end of it. I'm not telling people to listen to what I'm saying. I would certainly encourage people to research what is being said at NDEs. Look at all the propaganda coming out now about NDEs. They know people are waking up to what's going on after death. And there's a whole load of stuff coming out as they always do with the propaganda. So
that's really interesting. I haven't personally looked up any near-death experiences or understand what people go through near the end, and I can't say that a lot of like those metaphysical concepts necessarily resonate with me because it's so new, but it's definitely something look into. But I think what I do understand is that there's people who control us and something drives them, but I don't know who controls us, and I don't know what's motivating them to basically subjugate us to their will. So who is in power, and then what drives them?
All right, well, we're going to go metaphysical though, Joey. All right, so basically what we have is we're in the third dimension, physical dimension here. And there's all different dimensions. I don't know how many there is, but the next one obviously is the fourth dimension. Now, the issue is that as humans, we are basically blind as to what's out there. I think we can see like, I don't know, 0.5% of the total visible spectrum. Okay, so you've got all this other stuff going on in the same space, but we can't see it with our physical eyes. We can see it with remote viewing and things like that, which is another topic. So basically, there's a lot more going on in the same space than we realize, because we're blind, basically. And so when you look at the people that run the world, it's like they don't act like normal humans, right? So there's three of us here now. If we said, right, okay, who wants a war, right? I pretty much guarantee that all of us would say, I don't want a war, because people get killed, harmed, injured. Like, no, right? So why do we have war? What is the if most humans really, even the NPCs, you'll ask an NPC, even they know not that wars aren't that great. So it's like, why do we have wars, right? When we know that we're basically just killing each other, and it's because that want wars are different to what we are. Now, if you want to call it like on a physical 3D level, psychopaths, but they don't have the ability to feel empathy, basically. So where I was talking about the thing that got me with veganism, when I saw those videos, it's like that empathy kicked in. They don't have that. When someone dies, they really, in fact, they love fear and death and murder, and that's the kind of thing that they want more of. And it's because these physical beings that are our world leaders and in positions of power, they're basically hosted with entities. So within the fourth dimension, this dimension that is just outside of our visible sight, reside mainly negative entities, or entities that masquerade of the light, the false white light beings. These are your angels, your friendly aliens, and things like that. And these will sometimes appear to people and trick people. That's why it's a matrix. And get people to channel them, and then they're getting their energy siphoned off and getting mixed messages that are going to make them make bad decisions. But yeah, so these world leaders are hosted by entities, and because these entities are not source connected and they don't have empathy, they feed on the vibration of fear and anger and frustration and sadness and depression and all the lower frequency energy. So they have to keep the world in that frequency. This is why we're constantly at war. This is why they're constantly dividing and ruling the population and getting us to bat off against each other. Black versus white, rich versus poor, gay versus straight, England versus France, Manchester United versus Liverpool. Like, it's constant. They want us at loggerheads all the time because it's loosh, it's food for them. And even with relationships, with our unhealed trauma, and you have two people that come together, and they'll trigger certain things in each person and cause friction, and then they're feeding on all that energy. So we have a distorted form of consciousness on this planet that goes just beyond our visible sight, that is really pulling the strings and dictating the decision making in order to create a fear frequency or a fear vibration, fear and anger and all that stuff. So it becomes a constant, so they have constant supply of food. So basically what we have is we're on a farm, okay? So just like the cows are being milked for their milk, we're being milked for our loosh, for our energy. And that's really essentially what's happening, to put it in the most simple terms, is that we're not actually dealing with normal physical that have empathy, that have a soul, that feel, that have sentience. We're dealing with hosted humans that are entity ridden with distorted forms of consciousnesses which aren't source connected, and their only way to survive is through our energy, and our negative energy is like caviar for them. And you can go into all the aspects of what they're doing with children and feeding on the, you know, the sacrifices and things like that, the fear energy just before the child dies. I mean, it's grim. I mean, you've probably been down those rabbit holes.
Yeah.
But it's because the entity, they're feeding the entity, so the entity becomes stronger in that person. And yeah, that's really the shortened version.
So with the entity attachments, how are some ways that you can have an entity get attached to you, and what can you do to avoid it? Because I know who you're intimate with is a massive thing when it comes to like the exchange of energy.
Yeah, well, there's many ways. I mean, when you look at society, let's take alcohol for one thing. So when you look at spirits, right, they're telling you spirits when you drink spirits. When you look at gin and tonic, gin is the Arabic word for demon, right? So again, it's telling you the word alcohol derives from the word al-ghul, which is a demonic entity. So what happens when you're drunk? It's like people will say, you weren't like you were different. Well, that's because you're possessed. Because any time you drop in frequency or you alter your frequency, it makes it easier for them to come in and interface and take over. So this is why most people, if you ask them, the worst decisions that they've made have always been when they're drunk. And that's because you're out of body and something else has come in and taken over. I mean, how often have you been around someone? I try not to be around drunk people anymore, but you're like, my God, he's so different, or she's so different when he's had a drink. He gets angry, he gets violent, or he can't stop laughing and it's jovial. It's because there's something that comes in and takes over. You look at drugs, I mean, the same thing, particularly things like cocaine and heroin. I mean, even worse, meths. Basically, the harder the drug, the stronger the entity attachment. So if you ever have you ever seen on YouTube this drug called Flakka? Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Okay, look it up. Just type in person on Flakka drugs, and they almost get like superhuman strength. They go really crazy.
This is a crocodile. Is that?
No, it's not a crocodile. No, it's just a type of drug. But it's
No, I mean, there's a drug called crocodile that has very similar effects to what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few of them out there. Meths is another one, and because the stronger the drug, the more out of body you are, and so the stronger the entity attachment. So if you ever YouTube videos like that, you'll see like the person, you can see the demon working through the person, and it's got like, there's ones where it's almost like stopping a car or something. It's crazy what the strength that people have when they get like fully attached like that. And this is not popular at all. People hate me, but weed is another one. You know, we've been told in the alternative that weed's great and yada yada. I mean, I don't doubt that it has some medicinal healing benefits, but again, when you smoke weed, you alter your frequency and things can come in and attach themselves. so every type, psychedelics is another bad one. I mean, when you take something like ayahuasca or DMT, you're basically smashing your consciousness open. And at that point, it's very easy for entities to come in. And I've worked with people down the years. On the Friday, they're feeling great. They take ayahuasca on the Saturday. Monday, they've got suicidal thoughts, because a lot of the mind chatter that we have is not our own voices. The constant, you're not good enough, no one likes you, you can't do this 24/7, that's often entities. And what they'll do is, another way they get in is on our unhealed trauma. So if you've had betrayal or abandonment, we've all got trauma, right? But if you don't work on yourself, they'll use that against you. And whatever is your weakness, they'll use. So if you've got a strong abandonment issue and you're with someone, they'll be like, oh, he's going to leave you, she's going to leave you, it's just a matter of time, yada, yada. So they'll hook in, turn the volume up on it. And what does that do? It creates more fear, more anxiety, more food for them. So unhealed wounds, alcohol, drugs, weed, pharmaceutical drugs, they're just as bad as recreational drugs. If ever you have like a bad accident and you lose your consciousness, that can sometimes you can sometimes get an attachment from that, because again, you're out of body.
What about food? Because when I used to have gluten after being clean, so this was even before carnivore, when I was paleo and I had gluten, I would get suicidal depression. And now I've been doing experiments to see like if you know, there are any kind of vegetables or anything that's not carnivore that could possibly have benefits or be good. And it's the same, just bad reaction, not suicidal thoughts, but like just not feeling quite myself, feeling much, much lower energetically.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's the actual food causing the attachment. It is in a way, because whatever that food is, your body doesn't agree with it, and it's making you feel not great. So that's making you feel maybe more depressed, and so it's on that depression, and then you're sort of sinking in your vibration. This isn't to say that we've got to be all happy, love, and light, and because that's another deception as well, right? There's an organic way that we can increase our vibration. But yeah, if you're eating foods and you're starting to, I mean, God, when I was vegan, I must have had a lot of attachment, because what was I when I was vegan? I was hangry. I was hangry all the time, right? So when I'm hangry all the time, they're like, I must have been a great source of food for them, especially when I hit end stage. You know, I was very reactive, and yeah, it didn't feel good at all. So it is important that from that point of view, we do put the right food in to because when I started eating meat, I felt calm. You know, there was a calmness. They can't get in on calmness, but they can get in on me being angry and hangry all the time. So it's not probably directly the food, but it's the food's making you not feel good, and then that's when they're coming in.
But when you say they're coming in, do you mean like literally they're putting things into our head, like literally, or do you mean that we become more vulnerable and we're more prone to adopt the ways of thinking that they're pushing just out into the world? Or like,
we all have entity attachments. Some people have them more than others, and some people have stronger ones than others. I mean, I grade them 1 to 3. So you have a level 1 attachment, which is basically a full-on takeover, which is the people that are on the mess or the flak, or if ever you've seen, what's it called, where they're an exorcism, that's like a full-on possession. That's a level 1. A level 2 is where the entity has quite a bit of control over the person. So that's when you start to get the suicidal thoughts. If you get in suicidal thoughts, more often than not, that's an entity, because most people really, they don't want to suicide, especially if they're inorganic voices. And then you've got like the level 3, which they're just sort of encourage bad habits and things like that. So I don't know, if you like a drink, maybe they'll be like, go on, just have another glass of wine, or go on, give up tomorrow. And I mean, you can't blame everything for entities, but a lot of the mind chatter is inorganic. And when you remove a lot of this stuff, your mind becomes quieter.
But what, so everybody has some kind of entity attachment then?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not possible
Sorry.
to not have one.
I wish it was. I wish it was. Yeah, I mean, we've got. I see. I like to spin this around because it gets to the point when people are like, "Oh, we're screwed." But what we have to realize is the reason they're doing this to us is because we're so incredibly powerful. If we had any idea of how incredibly powerful we were, and it's ironic because we all walk around thinking, oh, I'm not good enough, little me, what can I do? I mean, we've got a fractal of I don't even like the word God, but like a fractal of source energy within each and every one of us. We creative beings, they know that about us. They're terrified of us having this awakening and realizing what's going on, because then they're going to lose their food source. So and especially right now, it's amped right up because we're in this kind of weird end times. um so yeah, we have like etheric implants and overlays and all this stuff going on, but they need to do it to us because left unchecked without any interference, this place would be utopia. I mean, we would be creating wonderful things, and there would be no war and all this stuff, and that's not good for them. So yeah, they need to mess with us because they know what we are. And I think a big key in all of this is remembering who and what we actually are. Because we're not what we've been told. They constantly tell us that we need them, we need them to make decisions for us. They're telling us all the time that we're some kind of bacteria on the earth. There's too many of us here. You know, we're causing all these problems with the climate. They're trying to sell us the idea, and the NPCs will repeat this. You'll speak to an NPC, and they'll be going, "Oh yeah, Tony, there's too many of us here, too many humans." You get into a plane, empty field after empty field after empty field. You're from the UK, aren't you?
Well, yeah, my dad's British, my mum's Estonian.
All right. Well, the UK is a small country, and Estonia is as well. You get in a plane and fly over it. It's just empty field. Like the cities are crowded, but we're not overpopulating the planet. So they're selling us the idea that we're this like cockroach, and when they're the cockroaches, that's the thing. That's the irony. They're the cockroaches. We're the powerful ones. They've inverted it for us to think they're the powerful ones and we're the cockroaches.
But so how do we get our power back from them and as free from all of the entities as possible naturally?
Hmm. Well, I mean, this is partly where I'm going next. Is I'm putting together something which is going to help people clear themselves. I mean, you can clear them energetically. But yeah, until we get out of this matrix, we're always going to be at the mercy of some level of interference. It's just getting it to a level where it's more manageable. But there are ways in which you can at least start clearing. I mean, I have some free healing videos on my YouTube channel as well, that people might want to check out. But there is more to it than that, which is it's something I'm going to be putting together. But yeah, we're all sort of being hijacked energetically and physically. You know, it's playing out in the fourth dimension and in the third dimension. You know, they don't leave us alone in this dimension. All the rules, the regulations, you got to do this, you got to do that. They're just constantly bothering us, and it's the same in that dimension.
How does money tie in?
Well, it's just a tool of enslavement, isn't it? I mean, as I said before, they and what they've done is they've created a scarcity environment. You know, there's always just enough before you're going to run out. So people are always in this scarcity mindset, and worrying about not having enough, and there being a lack. And of course, for a lot of people on this planet, there is that. You know, there's people living in even here in Mexico in really bad poverty. So we're always either in poverty or trying to avoid poverty. when we really live in a world of abundance, and without all their BS, the problem is they've taken over all the corporations, and this is the other unnatural thing we do. We all go to like a supermarket, and we're all there buying all this like packaged food. It's like, it's not natural, is it really? When you think about it, it just the whole thing around, you know, going, and then you have to use money to pay for your sustenance. I mean, it's a slave planet. There's no nice way of putting it, or ways of sugarcoating it. We're here at the moment. We've been trapped here for a little bit longer than we should. It's a slave farm. It's an energy harvesting farm. Whatever way you want to look at it, everything in place is here for a purpose, to harvest our energy and keep us in those lower frequencies. And I think it's a much better way to plan on getting out, rather than trying to change everything here, because I don't know if it's going to change in our lifetimes. We can certainly sow seeds and put out information to help and encourage others, but the way it's set up right now, it's going to take a while for it to come down and change, if it ever does.
Yeah, because you said that we're in the end of times. How far do you think they're going to get with all of this?
I don't know. I mean, you know, we all thought we would need passports to buy our food, and that didn't happen. So, you know, they don't want us resisting, and there is a lot to be said for putting up a fight or resisting. And I mean, the internet, they've shot themselves in the foot with, because they used it to entrap us. That's why it's called a net, internet, the web, spider web, right? What does a web do? It traps people, or it traps things. But because humans are unpredictable, and this is the great thing about humans, we're unpredictable to them, and we're creative, we can now put things together like this, which they hadn't bargained for, and raise a whole load of awareness, and it's like to the system, right? So we can make positive changes, and we can, you know, help with this process. But this is the other thing in the new age. They're constantly promoting that we're one, and maybe at some level we are, but this is a journey that's also very much individual, I think, because, you know, we don't want to be looped back round again.
Oh, I can't stand that whole thing about we are one. Like, no thanks. I'm going to take care of me. I'm me. I'm not you.
Yeah, this is a soul journey, and I mean, just even then, what does soul mean? It means on your own, doesn't it? That just came to me just then. Interesting. So yeah, I don't know if this is going to change in our lifetime, but we can sow seeds while we're here and then get the frig out of here. That's what I'm going to do anyway.
Well, why do you think it was humans that this happened to? I mean, there's like a million different species at least. Why was it humans?
Because I think that we're incredible, powerful batteries. I think our energy is, like I say, it's like caviar for them. There's some, I don't have all the answers, but I do know we are incredibly powerful battery generators. Yeah, I can't say as to the exact reason why, but I would suggest, yeah, it's because of our strengths really that we're being targeted so much.
Yeah. It seems, I mean, what do you think is the most powerful tool that they're using to keep us in the matrix per se? Because I mean, personally, from my experience, I would think it's school. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with what the current education system looks like. You could probably assume what it is based on what they're trying to spread. But school seemed to be the mechanism by which they really got people attached to their cause, because we were learning things in school all about, we're learning misconstrued versions of history, wars, all the stuff that I now know to have been completely fabricated.
Yeah. don't even get me on dinosaurs and stuff like that, and the theory of evolution. I mean, God, yeah. I mean, it starts from cradle to grave. You go to school, and what are you taught? You're taught never to question authority, and if you do, you get punished, right? We got detention if you question authority. Back in the day, they used to hit kids with rulers and stuff if they questioned authority. When you get home, you're not allowed to question your mum and dad because you get punished, you get grounded, or you get smacked, whatever it is. So we're right from the get-go, we're taught you can't question authority. And then, of course, that just goes on and on. And I mean, authority exists nowhere other than the mind of man. I mean, it's like, what even is that? Like, some dude who's born into another family has more rights of, like, can tell me what to do because they wear a suit and they're a talking head on TV. Like, that dude can tell me what to do. No, I'm a sovereign being. I don't care who he is. I don't care if that woman's got a crown on her head. Yeah, they've inverted the word sovereign. We're sovereign beings, and they've used it for them, the sovereign royal family. It's wordplay. They invert everything, and you know, this is what I really want to get people to really deeply, profoundly feel deep down and remember, is that we are the powerful ones. And I know a lot of what I've said seems a little bit, oh God, but it really is that is really the case. They wouldn't need to do all of this to us if we weren't incredibly powerful. We can do all kinds of things. Sorry about the construction.
No problem. Yeah, it's just when I talk to you, these are a lot of very new ideas. So it's I'm sure you get that reaction a lot. It's like,
yeah, it's far
it's
out.
not, yeah.
Yeah, I realize that, but there's only one mistake you can make on the path to truth, and that's not going all the way. And I don't say that I have everything. I'm not saying that I'm here as like the bastion, I know everything, because I don't. I still learn every day, and I'm still open to learning new stuff. But I think, you know, working in the field that I do, clearing entities and knowing how they work and how they deceive, and then researching the stuff that I have with the NDEs and how it's working there as well. I know that I'm onto something with all of this, but of course, you know, I don't have all the answers, but all I ask people is just to be open-minded. Truth is a resonance, it's a frequency. That's how you can tell, and it either hits home or it doesn't. And I think you know, it's down to the person to really not make an instant judgment, but go away, think about it, ponder on it, and really feel into the information. Because if you haven't come across stuff like this before, it's kind of it can be a little bit overwhelming or a bit of a leap. So yeah.
Okay. I mean, it resonates with me because I've heard all of this stuff before, and I've experienced a lot of, well, some of what you're talking about as well, especially with the like energy exchanges and stuff. So yeah, but I feel like I've naturally been able to clear some of this, I guess, entity stuff just through the way that I'm living. And
Yeah.
yeah, so like the way I live, the diet, and
Oh,
it does help.
the cleaner you live, the less attachments that you'll have, because you'll feel better, and the better you feel, you're not, it's harder for them.
Yeah, I still need to ruminate on it a little bit more, but just on the, I mean, I guess we're all on the quest to find truth. I think everyone watching this video who's still watching is also on the quest to find truth, and maybe I hope this will help them maybe get a little bit closer and give them a new path to start searching down.
Yeah, just you know, just to research. And yeah.
Great. Anabel, do you have any more questions you want to ask?
No, I mean, I feel like I need to, I don't know, digest everything that we've talked about.
Okay,
there's a
yeah, me
lot to
too.
unpack.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you both taking the time, and it was a powerful conversation. You know, most of these I'm left at to think a little bit, digest a little bit, but there's a lot to look into, a whole nother door
Yeah.
to open. To me, I'm very inclined to dismiss things that don't feel real, like things that don't feel tangible, and this is very intangible to me. So it's kind of it's like I kind of need to break out of this mindset where everything that I can actually imagine happening in real life is not necessarily like that doesn't have to be the reality. There could be things outside of that. So
Yeah, it's being stuck in the five senses as well. As humans, you know, we're stuck in the five senses. So when someone comes along and says, "Oh, actually, there's other stuff out there," it can be a bit of a stretch. But I really think it's important to at least ponder on that and research further, because for me, this matrix, it's not 3D, it's not physical, it goes beyond the physical. And if you see it as just physical, I think you're only getting a tiny part of the picture. You're getting the how can I put it, allegorically speaking, but you're getting like the top of the building when there's all these other layers beyond it. You're just seeing the top.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you put it very nicely. That we all I know is the five senses. All most people know is the five senses, and I
And
guess
that's part of it. They want to keep people in the five senses, because as soon as you go out of the five senses, then you start thinking about things like this. This is why we're not taught about at school about energy and about entities and astral realms and dimensions and things like this, because that then could lead that person onto figuring this stuff out. So it's really in the unseen that this matrix is coming from.
But we
it's
do feel stuff as well. Like I think that we already do go beyond our five senses every single day, because we are drawn to certain things and we feel certain things, and we may have everything, good on paper. For example, good job, loads of money, great house, healthy family, but we just don't feel it inside. Something's missing and something's not right. So on some level, I feel like we are connected with our souls every single day. We just don't know how to express what it is in most cases.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we're constantly operating outside the five senses, but we're not conscious of it. So things like intuition, we use our intuition quite a lot. But I mean, what's intuition? That's a feeling energetically on a certain topic or a person, and that's not physical. So we have all these other gifts that are there, but they're like muscles. If you don't use them, you lose them. And so, yeah, we go way beyond the five senses, and yeah, they know that. That's why they try and keep us in the five senses.
Yeah. It's funny though. It's funny because they make evolution seem like something that could have for sure happened, where we're evolving from inorganic matter, and then we like become all like this complete ridiculous just chain of events.
Yeah,
But they kind of totally altered what seems real, what could be real and what couldn't be real. It's yeah, a lot of brain manipulation that's happened for sure.
yeah, everything's inverted.
Yeah. All right, Tony. Well, this has been like really, really great, and maybe we can do it again at some point.
I'd
Yeah,
love
thank
to.
you for coming on.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks for being open-minded and listening to what I had to say.
sure. Okay, I just stopped recording, Annabelle, if you